We're live on Amazon with the amazing Terry Brooke, who is a speaker, communicator, general reading addict. But you said it much better than me when I asked you. So, how would you describe yourself in one sentence? And tell us very briefly about the general kind of books that you like reading.
I'm a communicator. I speak and I write, helping entrepreneurs learn how they can work with their clients, their customers to build business, leveraging technology like AI and be able to increase their sales.
Okay, so you gave me a long list of 20 books, and I have taken off the ones that we discussed on this show before, which includes one interesting one by the sounds of things, but that's a bit. We'll jump that bridge when we get to it. So, shall we talk about the first book and then start from there?
Absolutely. I'm here to help you, whatever you need.
Okay, and that first book is Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who is the rapper 50 Cent, isn't it? So, like, this isn't kind of a book I thought you would have picked, but why did you pick this book?
Well, exactly. It's a book that I found incredible. I mean, I'm a pasty white kid here,
Mm.
and 50 Cent is a brilliant, business savvy person who's different skin color, yeah, and different upbringing and all that, but we've got a lot in common because I really admire his stamina to keep going and to work hard. And he translates that in the book as to how you can do it, what to do, giving real world examples, some things that I didn't know about, and that's okay. I'm learning. And I really love it. Great principles. And I'm a person who really likes the principles that work. Whatever book it is, I like to see what works regardless of the culture. And for me, I like to read from different areas. So that because I'm a little bit different than 50 Cent, I'm going to read what he has to say. But I find we have a lot in common. And the hard work ethics, getting in there, doing what needs to be done, disciplining yourself. The man is very disciplined. And I admire that. And I think that book was a great one. I've read it, I think, only about 4 times right
Oh,
now, but I plan to go back and do a few more.
well, I mean, only 4 times kind of sounds like quite a lot of commitment. So, what would you say are the prime lessons that you learned from this book then when you were reading it?
I think that it's you've got to discipline yourself to understand what you want, go for it, and then don't let fear get in the way. That's something that he puts throughout his books. The idea of fear holds too many people back, but overcoming that is good. Now, he shared some areas where he might have done things that are a little bit reckless, like climbing up on top of very high skyscrapers in New York City in precarious situations. He received and then got pictures of it and all that. And he got some notices from his insurance companies very soon saying, you keep doing that, we cannot insure you. And I think, okay, I get it, and that's not something I do, but I understand what he's doing, and I just admire that. And I think the idea of connecting with people, making sure you connect with people and work with them is something that he talks about a lot. And I think really it's like we say all the time, your net worth is really determined by your network. And so the number of people that know you in a favorable way is where you'll get ahead. Brian Tracy talked about that, a friend of mine. And Brian Tracy is a wonderful guy that talks about these kinds of things, but it adheres to and embraces what 50 Cent is doing there. Hustle harder, hustle smarter. I think that title alone is very instructional for us.
Yeah. Okay, shall we go on to the next book then?
Sure.
Which is How I Found Freedom in an Unfree Will, a Handbook for Personal Liberty by Harry Browne. So tell us about this book.
This is one of my favorites of all time. I read this years ago when I was stumbling around as a little kid, like many of us. When you're young, you wonder what to do, how to do it, and things are not always optimal growing up. I had a good childhood, but there were areas where I needed a little help. And Harry Browne taught me through that book what you got to do is live life for what you want to do,
Yeah,
not harming others, never initiating force or coercion, but doing what you want to do. And don't be held back by what you think others are saying you
yeah,
should do, or even what they do say, well, you can't do that, you can't do this. Harry Browne talked about an idea of you living your life in freedom and liberty. And when someone else chooses to do something else, that might sting a little bit. It might be hard, but you let them do their thing and you do your thing. He didn't say it in these words, but I think he really strongly communicates the philosophy of live and let live.
yeah.
You do what you want to do. Don't harm others. Don't take their stuff. And Harvey Browne was a friend of mine. He's no longer with us now, but I got a chance to meet him, spend some quality time with him. He was a nationally known person. as I had a chance to vote for him for president of the United States twice. He was on all 50 ballots,
Yeah.
and I got a chance to vote for him. He unfortunately didn't make it, but his ideas still retain value, and we still use them today.
So is that the more, was it more on the libertarian side of things then? Or?
Yes, on the Libertarian Party
Yeah.
in 1996 and in the year 2000. I was actually on a panel with him where we were talking about some important issues, and he and I were there with a crowd, big crowd out there, and I was able to look over at him and to shake his hand and say, Harry, in Florida in 2000, we had some problems. There was wondering about who was voting for who. I want you to know you got at least one vote from me here in the state of Florida. We were in Florida. I shook his hand and just appreciated that man.
Yeah.
We miss him now. Wish he were still with us.
Yes, well, that's true of a lot of these authors, isn't it? Shall we go on to the next one?
Sure.
Which is The Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand. So, obviously, I think you had also picked Atlas Shrugged book, but that's been done a few times. So, I've never heard of this book before. So, why why this book by Ayn Rand?
Yeah, well, thank you for mentioning that because Atlas Shrugged was one of her main books. It was the primary book that she's
Yeah,
known for. But Virtue of Selfishness was not a fiction book like Atlas Shrugged. This one was a nonfiction book where she talked about something that people at first brush go, "What are you talking about? But selfishness? That's not right." Well, she talks about the virtue of selfishness of taking care of yourself, making sure that you are doing the right thing. You're not harming others. You're with them. But too many times people say you must sacrifice for the, here's that terrible phrase, greater good.
yeah,
And well, who determines what this greater good is? And it usually is a bunch of not nincompoop, I'll use that word, they're nincompoop politicians, whatever country you're in, that they say, we're going to tell you what to do. And I think, no, people should be able to live their lives freely as long as they're not harming someone else, they're not taking their stuff and hurting them. And Ayn Rand talked about that and made the case for being selfish. What that really means, as she defines it, and I think it's a good definition, you take care of yourself. You make sure you're not a burden to someone else. Physically, mentally, you're not harming others. You're doing what is right for you. You might encourage people to join you, but if they choose not to, that's their choice. And they have their choice just like you do too as well. In other words, it's a way of kind of living with non-coercion. You're not forcing others to do something that
yeah.
they don't want to do, living your life voluntarily.
I haven't read this book, but I have read Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. And
Yeah, both of them.
what I found interesting is that, I mean, she's not the best fiction writer in the world, to be honest, from a purely writing ability thing. But she's one of the very few right wing kind of fiction writers. So that's interesting in itself.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would call her right wing. Studied some of her philosophy and some of the people who follow.
Yeah,
Right wing would not be what I would call her. I would call her more freedom loving.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that way, because you look at, I think there's a lot of people on the right wing that she would disagree with and did.
Well, yeah.
Greene,
I
as
mean,
well as
that's
those on
yeah.
the left wing, whatever we're going to say on that one.
Well, I mean, yeah. I suppose you. To be fair, you're right there because, especially now, it's like a lot of people on the right wing aren't very right wing, and a lot of people on the left wing aren't very left wing, and it's
Yeah.
confusing.
I think it really comes down to authoritarians versus non-authoritarian.
Yeah,
People who want to rule you, whether they're in Labor or Tory, or whether they're Democrat, Republican, or Labor or Liberal over in Australia or wherever it is.
yeah,
People that want to control you say, you must do it our way. We are telling you what to do, versus others say, frankly, no, I choose to live my life my way without
yeah.
harming others. Anything that's peaceful, I think, is the way to do it.
Let's carry on with the next book, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Now, again, you gave The Obstacle as a Way as well as this book. The Obstacle is the Way, which is his
Yeah.
more famous book. But I think this is probably more relevant and more up to date, though, isn't it? So, why did you pick this book by?
Well, you're right. He wrote the Obstacles Away about Marcus Aurelius,
Yeah,
saying, hey, things are challenges. Well, think about that book and then the message that's core in there and other areas that are scattered throughout 366 days of the year. And so every day, there's a very short one-page read that you get a message. And I've enjoyed that for a while. This year, I'm reading a little something different, but I've read it for like 3, 4 years in a row, and I'll probably go back to it again. But it's something that gives you a message every day. I encourage our readers, if you're listening to this, this is an excellent book to get something to get you started every day for just a few minutes. You can read it probably in 2 to 3 minutes. those for each day. And it gives you a way to kind of get yourself oriented. It did for me. What to think about, a quote from, say, Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or maybe Epictetus,
Yeah.
those wonderful Stoic people, and understand what the Stoics had to say in their philosophy. That you basically, throughout the book, you'll hear it over and over, that you focus on the things that you can control, and most of the things that happen in life you can't control.
Yeah.
I can't control what the knuckleheads do in Washington, D.C., or in Canberra, or in Tokyo, or in London, or wherever those knuckleheads might be. But I think we should be able to do what we want without harming others and live peacefully. That's the key, I think. If it's peaceful, sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm going to try something I haven't done on this show with this new technology, and
I'm
that
hoping it's with
is,
your clothes on, but that's up to you.
yeah, well, yes, obviously. Oh, why is it not doing anything? And well, that didn't work. So, well, there is a comment. I'll read it out to you in the good old-fashioned way,
Yeah,
which
sure.
was from Tanesha L. Curtis, who I probably totally. I think I used to tweet to her quite a lot in the old days when Twitter was Twitter, and I run a Twitter chat. I read Atlas Shrugged in middle school. She said,
Oh, okay, that was it. Well,
"Yeah,
good. Good. It's a good one to read now. It's pretty thick. Ayn Rand came to the United States from Russia. So she wrote those big, thick Russian books that are
yeah."
like that, over 1,000 pages. I forget how many pages it is. So that's normal. If you read that, it's good for you, Tanisha.
Should we go to the next book, which
Sure.
is So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport?
Oh, yes. Now that's a good one because it's a quote from Steve Martin, the comedian. And
Mm,
you just think about it, it says a lot when you just think of that quote, that title. Be so good, they can't ignore you.
yeah,
So it's those of us that are promoting ourselves, which is really most everyone today. And we've got to say, hey, this is what I can do. Well, be so good they can't ignore it. Don't just jump and go, pick me. I'm wonderful because of whatever we're going to say. You got to be so good that you satisfy their needs. You're helping them. And this is what Cal Newport talks about. He says, people talk about follow your passion. That's not the answer. You can follow your passion. If your passion is drinking beer, watching TV, well, good for you, Sparky. That's nice, but that's not going to pay the bills in most cases. What you've got to do is find out, what do others need?
yeah.
Where are they hurting? How can you provide for them and help them solve their needs? And when you can do that, now you'll be able to get somewhere. And he talks about many ways to do it, specifics that are there, creating concepts, creating certain products, creating services, getting so good at a skill that they want you. People say, hey, this is the person we want her. She's really good. When we need to do this thing, this accounting or figuring out this tough science problem or this right here, she's the one we want because she always comes through. That's what you want to do, is be able to become that kind of person. And it comes through hard work, study, learn what people want, and then go out and find ways that you can help others do that in a way that's affordable for them and profitable for you.
It should be second nature. It should be one of lots of books. You have this concept that you think, well, shouldn't people be doing that anyway? But it's amazing how few people do. That's the,
Yeah, you're right.
or they try the drinking to success concept.
Yeah.
Their blog about like I did actually know somebody who tried to be like a beer blogger once, but I don't think he got very well. I think he got very drunk. I'm not sure he actually got any followers. So
I've heard that can happen. I read it in a book that could happen.
exactly right. Shall we go on to the next book, which
Sure.
is oh
Oh, yes.
Batstats. Oh,
Bastiat.
Bastiat's The Law, His Person, His Liberty, and His Property by Claude Frédéric Bastiat. So, is he French or why?
Yes, very astute. Bastiat, he was a Frenchman. The book was published in 1849, so long ago. Haven't seen him around in a while. But he talked about the importance of following the rules, that if something is wrong for an individual to do, it's also wrong for a group of people to do. Like, for instance, we would say, I think if you and I were walking down the street together and someone came up with guns and put them to your head and said, give me your money, I think we could agree, most reasonable people would agree, that is immoral. That's wrong.
Yeah,
If a group of people came up and put guns to your head and said, give us your money, I think we would equally agree that is morally wrong. If a corporation did that and did something to infringe on you and initiate force, I think we could also agree that is wrong. What's wrong for an individual is wrong for a group, which would also be wrong for a government to
yes.
do it. because some people think, well, the government can do it. You think, wait a minute, no, that doesn't make sense, because where does the morality stop? Because suddenly you get a certain amount of people there? No, it's still wrong. I think Frédéric Bastiat said it really well. His book still is very popular today, even though it was written back in 1849, like I mentioned. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And the idea of living your life peacefully and freely is, again, the message that's echoed throughout that book.
I'm noticing a slight political and kind of philosophical leaning amongst your books, and to be honest, I don't necessarily disagree with you on any of them. So,
To me, it's just a matter of not so much politics, but
yeah,
more philosophy of live peacefully.
yeah,
I love the way Leonard Reed said it long ago. He was the founder of the Foundation for Economic Education. Anything that's peaceful.
yeah.
If it's peaceful, fine. I'm all for it. You just want to get away from peaceful, you lost me. I'm sorry.
Right, on to the next one, the 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. Now, again, I've taken the popular book off, which is the 50 Laws of Power, which I
The
actually
48 laws of power.
Oh, is it 48 Laws of Power? Oh,
Yes, it's the 48 laws of power. And this one cleverly came in saying, here's the 50th law.
oh,
Because we
okay.
had seen 48 with Robert Greene and just Elfers. I forget the name of the other
Yeah.
co-author of his book, but that was it. And so when he came out with the 50th law, it was kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to those of us who had read the 48 laws of power. And this one is saying, here's the 50th law.
What happened to the 49th Law? Is that you talking about
Yeah,
with somebody
exactly.
else?
What happened to number 49?
Yeah.
Where is it? But this one's a very good one, and I recommend it strongly. I have read this one, I think about 7 or 8 times easily. I keep reading it over and over because there's so much good in there, and I wanna bring that in. The first chapter is really important. It's if you read nothing else, read that chapter. I just love reading that one chapter of being able to overcome fear. Get in there and get the things done, similar to what we heard in the other book. But this is 50 Cent saying it again to make sure you get out there and stop holding yourself back. Do what you need to do. And the main thing is to force yourself to do what you know is right for you. Taking that extra course, getting that job that you thought maybe not, will prepare for it and get good so they will want to hire you. Get yourself in physical shape. And things like watch out for the alcohol. He said he was known for running around with a bottle of champagne in his hand at parties, but it's been emptied and it's filled with water. And so he's got that because he keeps his mind clear when he's around others, particularly when you're making deals. Now, he might do some things that we look at and go, he's acting crazy there. Well, something's wrong with him. No, nothing's wrong. He's doing this on purpose. And the man is a smart businessman. That's 50 Cent Curtis Jackson. And Robert Greene comes in and says, this is very much like other historical characters. And so he actually compares 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, with Napoleon Bonaparte, who was also a person who was avant-garde and would go beyond what people would say was safe. Matter of fact, where Napoleon said to his troops, there shall be no Alps, when people told him his troops couldn't get over the Alps. And he said, kind of like saying, oh, yeah, well, and I'm sure he had a few more colorful phrases he'd throw in there. I'll leave it up to the viewer's imagination to imagine those colorful military phrases he put in there. But he went in and did it well. So they brought it down to what 50 Cent had done in his environment, which was the tough streets of Queenstown in New York, living in Queens, being in there, the tough upbringing that he had. His father was killed before and left. His mother was killed because of a drug deal that went bad. She was trying to make money for him and his brothers and sisters, and she was killed. And so he was raised essentially by his grandparents, and he learned the tough way how to do it. But I find, again, even though he and I are from different areas, different kinds of upbringing, I admire him, Curtis Jackson, so much. And I admire Robert Greene for making that available, putting not only this book, but several others out as well. And it's helped make my life better. And I would encourage those that are watching this or listening to this, check out those books. They can make your life better. I think that's a wonderful thing about books. You put a few coins down and you can get something back that changes your life for the better. That's amazing. Why hold back? It's like, okay, I'm going to just buy the books that are good and put them in there and make sure I'm using them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, books can be tremendously powerful.
Yes.
I mean, since I've been doing the show, it's like, I think you're the 49th episode I've done of this. So there's
Mhm.
an awful lot of books, which aren't organised anywhere into a nice list. Unfortunately, they should be by me at some point. But yeah, just reading some of the top books people have recommended. There's been some fantastic books in there.
Yeah, and by the way, this is where you can get AI, like ChatGPT and Perplexity, to organize those for you very, very well.
Yeah, yeah. Or the giant, whatever the free Chinese one is this week.
Or the new China, yeah, DeepSeek, which just
The-
came out about a few days ago.
yeah,
And so we're looking at that and thinking about it. But Perplexity, by the way, lets you access that on servers in the United States and Europe.
yeah,
So it could be a little bit safer. I don't know. I mean, that's we're getting into something else here, but that's really important to check out as we're doing this recording.
yeah. Anyway, shall we go on to the next book, which
Yeah,
is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Joseph Schwartz.
this is a famous one. Have you heard of this one before?
Yes, I have.
It is an amazing book about what you can do when you start thinking, I can do this. I'm going to figure out how to do it, not just in a rah rah, puffy way, but in a disciplined way. I'm going to make it happen. And this one is one of those the books. I put several in there like this. I felt very honored to have met and talked with and worked with the author of that, David Schwartz himself. He was the chair of the marketing department at Georgia State University when I was a student there in my MBA program. So I got a chance to connect with him. One on one, the man was amazing. In his book, he was amazing. He's no longer with us, but his work really is something that is timeless. And for those watching, this is a book you must read to get ahead in life. Don't let yourself go through life without reading The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And look it up. Yeah, he was the chair of the marketing department at Georgia State University. And his message, I think, was really profound. We can do it if we not just have the rah rah, but put systems in place to make that happen and to find ways you can creatively make it happen. This is what we need to do to succeed.
I've heard of this book. I'm surprised. Well, unless I screwed up, but I don't think I have. It's not been recommended before, so that's surprising. But yeah, definitely heard of the book. It's just, I mean, it's an example of a great title, actually, isn't it? The Magic of Thinking Big,
Yeah,
because it tells you exactly what the book is all about.
absolutely. Really good book and one for those of my book loving friends that are watching this right now. You know who I'm talking. I'm talking to you. Get this book. It
Yeah.
is one that you and then you'll be glad you did later. You can thank me later. Right now, go ahead and get that one.
Okay, let's go on to the next book, which is Relentless by Tim S. Grover.
Yes, now this is a good one here. I'm not a guy that's really into sports a lot.
Yeah.
I like it. I have nothing against it. It's just I don't do that. And he worked a lot, but Tim worked a lot with basketball players like Michael Jordan and like Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade and others really, really good and shows about what they went through when they had to endure pain, they had to endure setback and all kinds of things and what they did, how to keep going. Be Relentless is the name of the book, and he talks about how to do that. That don't just sit back and and take it easy. What you want to do, he talks about people that are looking around and trying to say, "Hey, I'm cool," and they're just jumping back and forth. He wants you to look at those that are closers, people that get in and actually make it work. Lots of people can talk about it. Lots of people can be, as he called them, coolers, where they get in, they're just being cool. Hey, yeah, it's cool. They can do it. And then, but he wants the people that will close the deal and make it happen. This is what you want to do. So he's talking to people like Kobe Bryant, talking to people like Michael Jordan in the midst of their games where they're using finals and they got where everything's on the line and they've lost a game. They need to come back. He works with them to say, here's what you've got to do and the kind of discipline that it requires. I remember one of the things he was talking about, you and I were talking about drinking. And he said a lot of players might have some drinking problems, et cetera. And he said, wait a minute, you can give it up or say, but I'll tell you what, you don't have to give it up. Just 30 days. Show me you can handle it.
Yeah.
Show me you can handle it and do it. And I think, okay, that makes sense that you can get in there and you can say, I'm in charge of my body. I'm not going to be ruled by anyone or anything else. Take control and do it. And Tim Grover talks about that in a very practical, pragmatic way with real world people. I mean, they're pretty tough, they're pretty strong to hit that level of athletic ability. And he's pulled them through and helped them win worldwide championships. So it got my attention. And I just love that book. I want to go back. I've only read it twice, so I want to go back and revisit that one again sometime.
It sounds like you're somebody, going slightly off tangent here, but you're somebody who rereads books a lot.
I find that I learn a lot when I go back over. The
Yeah,
one time through the book is great, but when I can go back 2 or the 3, I pick up a little extra each time, like I'm up here to chapter 7, go, "Ooh, I didn't remember that from last time. Yeah, there it is, right there in chapter 7. That one's good." A little nugget. And then one of the things that I do regularly, and you might appreciate this, is I use my Kindle and I can highlight in there with that because I tend to prefer the electronic books rather than the paper, just because I can when I see a word I don't know, I'm sharing my
yeah,
soul here. I don't know that word. I can just press and hold it down. It'll tell me what it is. But what I can do is I'll get that. Then I go back and I get my smartphone and I use Cast Magic and create a summary of what the points in the book that I thought were exceptionally good. So now I've got a transcript of that and an audio of it by going through Cast Magic. And it lets me get the kind of essence so I can go back and reread it, but rereading the important parts that are important to me. So that way I retain it longer. Just
yeah,
reading a book is nice, but it's even better when you can say, I've used this book and I'm going to use it again.
yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the next one, which is The Memory Book by
Yep.
Harry, Lorayne, and
Harry
Jim.
Lorayne and Jerry Lucas. Jerry Lucas was a Olympic basketball player for the United States. He and Harry Lorayne created this legendary book on memory, how to train your brain, how to memorize. They taught me as a very young lad. I was, I think, in junior high school at that time, seventh or eighth grade, 13, 14 years old, and remember reading that and learning a lot. And then I practically read it again through high school. When I went to undergrad school, one Friday night, I remember they had a guest coming, and it was Jerry Lucas himself. And he was there, so I was excited about that. I'm going to hear him, work with him, and got a chance to learn from him. And he says, "Now I'm coming back tomorrow morning. We're going to give a full day class on this, on memory. And those that are here early will get a chance to hear me, and I'm going to work with you one on one. We're starting the program tomorrow at 8 o'clock a.m. I'm going to be here before 7." And so I made sure I was there at 6:30.
Yeah,
And I learned from this guy. He gives some principles in that book, both of them, on how to remember numbers, how to remember names, how to remember anything. This has helped me get through undergrad school, grad school, and helping me today. Even today, this day, I'm using some of the techniques that they trained me on when I was 13, 14 years old from Harry Lorayne and Jerry Lucas. Do a perplexity search or we used to say Google search. You can still use those, but a perplexity search on Harry Lorayne and Jerry Lucas. This book is one you will be glad to get. Don't get put off by thinking, oh, it's very old. It is still as relevant today as it ever was and will be for, well, I think only for the next 2,000 years. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to be around for anywhere between now and 2,000 years from now, this is a book you want to get.
well, anybody watching in 2000 years' time, I think you probably should still read it. So,
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next book, which is Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield.
Yes, this is one very important because those of us that are working on our own, sometimes we say, I just don't want to do it. No, I just can't. Nobody cares about me. And Stephen Pressfield calls this the resistance, which I think is good. And that resistance is what's fighting against it. It's telling you, Tim, you don't have to do it today. You could sleep in a little bit more. Just don't go running today. Don't read that extra book that's going to help you. Don't do this. Don't write that piece that you know you need to write. Don't produce that video. That's the resistance in our head. And he talks about how you face it and you say, I will do it. This is a book that is a must read. I wish I could meet Stephen Pressfield. I have not met him yet, but I really admire that. And this is the kind of book that gives you the steps to take the measures that you need to do to make sure that you achieve the goals you want. Developing the discipline, blasting it out of the way, making sure you have an environment where you can write effectively. He talks a lot about writing, and I think that relates to many of us. I find that I start with writing and then go into audio and video after that. Often, sometimes I'll do video first, but it's good to have a good writing sense. And Stephen Pressfield knows about that. This is a book that you do a search on it in Chat GPT or Perplexity, you'll find many people that endorse and speak highly of this book.
As an author, his books we've recommended a few times on this show before, but not, I don't think this one. So,
Yeah, he's got
yeah,
several good books,
yeah,
and this is one
yeah,
that I find exceptionally good.
yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next book, which might be the last. I'm not sure. Hang on. Let me scroll across. Yes, this is the last book, which is The Art of Worldly Wisdom by Baltasar Gracián.
Yes, you got that right. Baltasar Gracián, my buddy. He one of my friends.
Ooh,
He was a Jesuit priest in the 16th century
oh,
over in Spain.
how
And
old
his
are
book
you?
is yeah, it's well, I knew him when he was in elementary school.
Yeah,
Okay, or you would say primary school.
yeah,
He was a guy that gave a lot of wisdom that you go, whoa, that is profound. And he wrote them usually in 1 to 2 pages, just a few pages, so it's easy to read. It's a good book to read when you got just a few moments here and there, and it's packed with wisdom from sometimes you wouldn't think, whoa, a Jesuit priest is saying that, but he is about being tough, watching out for those people who are out to hurt you. I think one of the things he talks about is the things that are necessary, having those in double measure. I think we can follow the military on this. Whatever country it's in, when they're out on a mission, they wouldn't take, if they got something they absolutely have to have, they probably wouldn't take just one of it, nor
yeah.
would they take two. Usually a rule of thumb, three. You look at the SAS, the Navy SEALs, you look at the Spetsnaz of Russia, you look at the samurai before, they would do this on a regular basis. And so we see what Balthazar Gracian said with those bits of wisdom, how to deal with this, how to remain strong when you know you should. I find it really helpful. I read that a lot when I was a young child, and I need to go back to it even more now. I have not read it in a while, but it is a book that is priceless, one that will give you much wisdom and give you a lot of joy as you read it.
Sounds quite a good book to end the book recommendation part of the show. But I do have two two further questions I ask every guest. First question is, I've asked this question in many a way over the shows. The terrible first iteration was, what book would you recommend from the list? But I've now expanded the question to, if you met somebody and in the world and you had to give them one of these books, what would be the what sort of questions would you ask them? What would be the little flow chart in your mind to work out which one of these books to give this imaginary person that you've
Oh, that's an excellent question because it's not just a matter of this one book for everybody.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
some people might be better for this, or it might be better to get that one. So I'd want to find out what their aspirations are.
yeah,
Where are they going? What are they doing? What kind of challenges are they running into? And if they say, well, I'm having all kinds of problems, I don't know what to do to get started, and life's been tough for me, et cetera, I go, you might want to read that Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. That's a very good one. He went through a lot. That could help you. Someone saying, yeah, I want to get ahead and I want to really excel in business. Maybe that Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz
yeah.
could be particularly good. And so I think it would depend on the person and what they're looking for as to which would be there. One thing that would be good, we can do this today. We couldn't do it just a few years ago. You could take all of these books, run them through ChatGPT or Perplexity or your favorite LLM, whatever that might be, large language model, put it through those, and then say, here's the challenges I'm having with this, and get real specific. What book or books would you recommend that I should read to be able to deal with this? And so now you're getting someone way smarter than me, way smarter than any one person, because it's going out tapping into the brains, I'll put that in air quotes, brains of hundreds, thousands, even millions of robots that have read these books and can come up with better answers to say, okay, given your circumstances, as you described it in detail, you might want to read this book and this one and maybe that one.
Yeah.
And so that would be a good way to do it to find out what is there. But I think all these books that I've read there, like others that are on your show, Tim, they are books that have changed our lives. And there's a reason. There's a reason they changed it for a good reason. We saw what was there. We step back while we're reading it, usually and go, whoa, that's pretty strong. Let me underline that or highlight it or write it down or record it, whatever way that is appropriate for the individual. And have a lot of knowledge from that book now seep into my little noodle up here because I need all the help I can get. Make sure that I can then remember that so the next time I bump into a real problem where I feel like, I don't know if I can make it. I feel like giving up. I go, wait a minute. Before you give up, Terry, remember what this person said in this place. what 50 Cent said over here? What did Baltasar Gracián say over in The Art of Worldly Wisdom about that? Or other books that you can tap into. Books can be your lifeline. Books can be what give you the wisdom to get ahead and to take care of the problems that are there. Stephen Pressfield's book on getting rid of that resistance that's there, being able to overcome those really is a key. Those kind of books can help you in whatever circumstance you're encountering.
Okay. And the other question I asked, I guess, and this was more relevant with the author guests, because I used to start off just interviewing authors, but actually I found people who read a lot are actually more interesting guests in a way than necessarily authors. But I'm presuming you haven't written a book yet. Is
Oh,
that
I have.
true?
I've written one so old, and my partner, my fiance, and I wrote one about clout. That's Klout.
Oh, yeah,
It was a real
okay.
popular platform a few years ago, and we're getting ready to put some others together. So we don't have one right now, but we have written book, and I'm writing all the time on the posts that we put out on my blog.
Yeah.
And I wrote for business journals with 11 million monthly readers every month. There, and that was a wonderful experience for quite a while.
Yeah. So, well, the question is like, what is the next book you're writing? And it sounds like you're writing the new version because does Cloud even exist anymore as a
Well,
concept?
clout as a CLOUT, clout, yes, it does, but the product itself does not.
Yeah.
Soon after we published the book, they were bought by someone else because it was such a good topic, but then the other people just kind of let it go a different
Yeah.
direction, and so it went down. But we're looking at putting together some AI books right now, but AI for relationship marketing
Yeah.
because I wrote a book years ago about relationship marketing. You can use AI now for that in many different ways. And I speak about that a lot for conferences around the world. This is something that I would recommend looking into, just see how AI can help you and keep your eyes out for a book coming out later.
Okay. So sounds like you're well on the case to doing that. Tell the people watching on Amazon a little bit about the stuff you do and how people can get in touch with you. Because I mean, you're like you speak about AI and that kind of stuff, and you've also, I mean, I know you've got several techniques. You've talked about them a little bit over the show about how you use AI with books.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot that are available there with that. And so the way to reach me, probably the best way would be at the website, terrybrock.com. And because that can be spelled different ways,
Yeah,
it's Terry, and Brock is spelled the right way, Brock.
yeah,
So terrybrock.com, you bounce over there and you'll see what I do. But we offer training for entrepreneurs, for people who think like entrepreneurs and want to be able to create content with audio, video, writing, and they want to build relationships, mutually beneficial
yeah,
relationships where it's a win-win, not where one takes over the other, but no, win-win, helping others, making the world a better place. We show you how to do that, leveraging a lot of technology. We just leverage the daylights out of this AI stuff, looking at all kinds of new tools that are coming out. We're working right now with some of the latest that have hit with AI, with ChatGPT, and looking at some of their new projects and what they're doing with that and their deep research they came out with just the day yesterday. They actually is a brand new one. Really good stuff that's out there. So whatever it is, whenever you're watching this, there's a lot of tools that can help you, and I'd be happy to help you on that. Matter of fact, just look me up on the website and give me a holler. I'd be happy to chat with you. No charge. Just be able to help you if you say, hey, we saw you on the Amazon. We liked what you and Tim did, and I can help you out on that. Be glad to do that.
okay. Well, it's been great having you a guest on the show, and I'm going to start pressing buttons to try and terminate everything now.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thanks.